guys. You will be interrupted by a girl who will bring you some water.
Thank you. That would be much appreciated. Yeah, so I'm the content director for Steemit. Thanks for coming to this talk. I don't know if you guys even know what we're here to talk about, but what we thought would add the most value to the Steem community, the people here, but also the broader blockchain community out there who might be watching this video in the future, is going beyond the technical aspect of the technical challenges that people face when they start building applications on a blockchain, and tackle the next problem, which is, okay, great, you understand the technical details, you're building an application, but now you're an entrepreneur. Now you're building a business, whether you like it or not. And there's a whole new suite of problems you need to face if you want to be successful. And so Matt has experience at multiple startups and before starting SteemMonsters, and it seems pretty obvious. Thank you, pretty lady. It seems pretty obvious that he was able to integrate that knowledge and experience that he got from working at those organizations when launching SteemMonsters with Agrode. And I think that, based on my experience being on Steem for so long and being on kind of the leading development team in the ecosystem, that this seems to be the biggest gap in the space right now. Is, we've got great organic growth of developers, people coming to the platform because they like the ideas, they like the capabilities, and then realizing, oh my God, I can build something on this. And so now it seems like the next kind of scaling challenge is understanding how to take a good idea and that integrates a new technology, but building a sustainable and scalable business with it. So that's the goal here. What are your first thoughts? What do you think would be the first thing we should tackle in this conversation?
Yeah, well, thank you for the introduction, and I agree that that's something really important that we should be talking about. So, I mean, I'd like to start just on the main thing that I see is that it's okay to sell a product. I feel like in the blockchain space, everything has to be free, and we'll all just earn money because tokens will go up in value, or there's inflation, or reward systems or whatever. But I would like to see, more blockchain businesses, apps, dApps, whatever you want to call them, that, understand that you're building something, you're putting energy, you're putting time, you're putting money to build a product or a service that is helpful and beneficial to people, and it is okay to charge money for that. You're not going against the ethos of Bitcoin, because you're charging money for a product. And I think a lot of the ethos of cryptocurrencies is not that everything should be free, but more that the benefits, the rewards that you get should be spread out and decentralized. So you can still charge people to use your service, or you can still sell a product. But I think the idea is that instead of having a company that is taking in and making all the rewards, that the people who are contributing and who are buying your product or using your service are able to also share in the value that they're creating.
Yeah, that seems exactly right to me. Like the foundational technology that was pioneered with Bitcoin, that successive projects have iterated on, is that you can reward people in stake for participating in certain ecosystems. But that's it. It's not. It can't make everything free. It can't make computational work infinite and low cost. Just because your app is free doesn't mean you'll have no costs.
Right.
And those costs will have to be paid somehow. And so thinking about a product or a service that you can charge for isn't a bad thing. And it's incredibly valuable, if only for the information you get about what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong.
Yeah.
But the added benefit is that you can fund operations, pay yourself a salary, and live a good life. And totally stealing from him here, make your product better.
Yeah.
So is it obvious to say that, the more revenue you generate, the more profit you generate, the better you can make your product, and that's what it comes down to, or what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think that is in the end, and I think it's been clouded a lot by the fact that there's been so much hype and speculation. So there's been so much money coming into the blockchain space just as investment, or people just speculating. So there's been a lot of, we shouldn't charge anybody anything. We don't take salaries, we don't do this. Because we can just get tons of money coming in, from everyone who's just, it's a blockchain, it's a cryptocurrency, great, take all my money. But we're past that phase, or we're starting to get past that phase, right? So now it's not you just put blockchain in your name and you get all this money. Now it's you actually have to make a good business and a good product. And to do that, you're going to need money coming in somehow. So initially it can be through funding that you go and get through a coin offering or traditional VCs, or you can start selling a product right off the bat and use your revenues to fund it. But there's more thought that needs to go in. It's not just like make a token equals lots of money. It's, you need to actually have a business plan, and understand how you're going to grow and how you're going to continue to pay for your business, pay back your investors, that type of thing.
Okay, so, and you guys have done some really interesting work with leveraging NFTs to be a component of that, which I don't want to really go into because it's technical, but I think it's worth looking into for other people. Like, there's a model there that other people can shamelessly copy and integrate into their business model, which I think they should. But I think for the sake of this conversation, maybe I think it would be better to move towards, okay, so I accept your premises. I'm a developer. I've got an idea for a product, and I agree that I should sell a product or service. What are the main challenges that I'm going to face as, let's say, a very small team, developer-centric team? I want to build a business. What do I do now? I'm also developing all the time, which I think is a big challenge that you face, which is that so much of your time is dedicated to actual development work.
Yeah, so that's really important because you need a good team, a well-rounded team with different skills and abilities. I find a lot of blockchain projects are just a few developers, and that's it. And they're building some really neat things, and it's great work, but then they don't know how to take it to the next level. And Ned also touched on this. I forget exactly what he said, but it was like something about being able to have real success for blockchain-based businesses. And I think that's what he was talking about. You need to take it to the next level where it's not just a few guys in a garage building something, which is kind of where we are right now, but to like an actually big successful business that has, revenues and offices and, employees and all this stuff. And that doesn't mean, I think a lot of people think, oh, well, that just sounds like traditional corporate, not what we're doing here. But just because you have an office, actual employees, and you might even pay your taxes, that doesn't mean you can't, still be the core ethos of the blockchain. And cryptocurrencies. That doesn't mean you can't reward the people who are providing value to your business, the opposite of something like a Facebook or a Reddit. So, that's the biggest challenge, I think, especially for developers who just always want to focus on developing, is getting someone on your team that has a business background, right? I'm very lucky to have Agrode also who helps out with that a ton. And it's hard for developers sometimes because the business background people, they don't care about what like really cool, great thing you might be building if it's not something that people are going to pay for or bring in revenue or move the business forward. So you need to have that give and take, where you have people who are looking after the success and the future of your product and not just what cool technology you can build.
Yeah, if you're not having arguments within your organization, you've probably got like a monoculture that's not really going to be able to execute. It's like the quality and type of arguments that's the issue, not whether you're having arguments, because the developer should want to focus on code and focus on solving technical challenges and should have their mind focused on that, and the business person should be focused on revenue and profit, and the customer profits, revenues, and You touched on a couple of really interesting points. I think that one of the most powerful underutilized tools of Steem is that you need to build a team. You need people who are different from you, and there's all these people out here who are doing different things and telling you about all their skills, and why aren't you commenting on their post and asking them if they want to come on board? Renaud, Cryptoctopus, is a content creator who's now collaborating on Token BB, a forum platform, and he's got a technical co-founder, I think. That's right? So they're collaborating and they're combining their skills to create a real product and working together. There's another thing you said, working in the basement. Oh yeah, you shouldn't throw the baby out with I think the key takeaway from the whole organization thing is that you shouldn't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Where we need to learn from organizations that have scaled to hundreds of people. If you're going to build a successful business, you are going to have hundreds of employees, thousands of employees, and if you're not trying to employ hundreds of people and thousands of people, like, what are you doing? Like, come on, let's employ people. Let's make jobs. Let's create great organizations that people can be really happy in and fulfilled in. And we're like, SteemMonsters can be a great company that can fuel the lifestyles of how many people, how many passionate people can get involved. So you need to learn from centralized organizations that have been able to solve these problems of scaling an organization. And yeah, add your flavor to it, tweak it, make it better. I think trying to reinvent the wheel is definitely a way to set yourself up for failure. Is that fair?
Yeah, I agree with all that. So I think you touched on a little, like, it's kind of taking it to the next step. So there's a lot of businesses, dApps, whatever, that they make their thing, they put it out there, and that seems to be the end of their plan. After that, it's okay, we'll add new features or we'll put new things in. But, it's how do you, I don't see a lot of vision to grow to be like huge, right? How do you attract people from all over the world who aren't into cryptocurrency, right? That's how everyone talks about mainstream adoption of crypto and blockchain and everything. Well, if all the projects that are built are specifically built for people who are already in crypto and blockchain, it's not going to do that. Like, how do you make a product where people don't have to know anything at all about crypto or blockchain? They might not even know it's related to crypto and blockchain. And then how do you go and bring them in? Well, you have to have something better than the current centralized services that they're already using. It can't be like, you can't just go to those people and say, well, this service is worse in a lot of ways and it's slower and et cetera, but it's decentralized, so you should use it. Like, that doesn't work. It has to be at least on par with the centralized services that they're using. And you mentioned like kind of customer first focus there. That gets them in. And then hopefully by the fact that, you're actually rewarding them for the value that they're bringing in, which they don't get on other platforms, that tips the scales in blockchain apps' favor. So that's a big thing of what we're doing with SteemMonsters. So we just want to create a game that is great and at least on par or better with everything else out there. So it's not like, SteemMonsters isn't so great, but I'm going to play it because I support blockchain or whatever. It's just, SteemMonsters is an awesome game. I don't even know how it works. I don't know what's going on or what the Steem thing is. Just sounds like a misspelled word. It's, you come in because like, this is so cool. My friends were playing SteemMonsters and it's awesome. And, I'm playing it and it's fun. And then they realize that they're getting this stuff, right? They're earning these things and they don't know what it is.
But it's theirs.
Right, exactly. And eventually, so that's how I see, a path to more mainstream adoption. You get people in because they're doing what they already like to do, and then they start realizing kind of what they have and what they've gained that they don't get from traditional games in this case. And that's how I see mainstream adoption happening. So that's why I'd like to see more apps trying to do the same of. Just make a great product and have the kind of crypto and blockchain part be the extra add-on rather than the main focus.
Yeah, I think focusing on mainstream adoption of blockchain is a very powerful orienting mechanism. The best projects to me seem to be the ones that are going, we believe in it's what motivates us, right? We're like, we believe in blockchain. How do we get this into people's hands now? And it's one of my pet peeves when people say stuff like, anyone can start participating by firing up a node. Like, you mean anyone who wants to fire up a node can participate? Did you want to say something? You looked prepared to.
Oh no, I was just agreeing with that. That's a common thing that you hear. Yeah, sure, everyone can participate. You just have to go and sign up for this and save your private keys, and then you transfer it through this service. And if you do anything wrong, you're going to lose all your money. But don't worry about that part. So they don't, and they just think that's okay because it's on blockchain and that's how blockchain works. But it's all part of what I was saying. Like, you need to focus on the great customer experience and have the blockchain and crypto be behind that.
Yeah, and I think it's especially important because the mindset towards mainstream adoption aligns you psychologically with the core value proposition of Steem. So if you're building a Steem app, Steem is an application-specific protocol that's effectively laser-focused on mass adoption. So if you're pursuing a business model or ambition that is at odds with that, you're going to be going against the current. Like, if you don't want to, spur mainstream adoption, you're not going to be tightly aligned. So I think the next question would be, okay, so. And the last point I wanted to make is that, often people go, yeah, but there's X, Y, and Z, which makes this not ready for mainstream adoption. And I think the insight there is that that's actually where the value is. Like that you guys said, these are what is lacking in Steem right now. This is what we like. We like these trading card games. And we see a way to integrate our passion with a gap in the market that we see here, and then rapid success because Steemians, it resonates with Steemians, so that enables you to accelerate like the adoption curve and kind of bootstrap your application, which I guess hopefully now the plan is to leverage that early success to continue building and spread it out to a mainstream audience. Is that fair?
Yeah, and I think so. Steem specifically is an awesome bootstrapping platform, right? I'm pretty sure if we made SteemMonsters, if it was EOS Monsters or whatever other chain, there's a lot of technologically, chains that are technologically similar to Steem at this point that we could have built it on, and I don't think we would have ever been able to get the community that we have, get the amount of players that we have, and the support and raise the amount of funds that we had on any other blockchain. So Steem, I look at it as such a great way to bootstrap things because we have all of you, everyone here, the community is Steem's big value. That's what I've been trying to say. But then, a lot of the apps just stop there. So they come, they make something, they get the great Steem community, and they're all on, and then that's it. That's the end of their business plan. And then they just hope Steem will grow so they get more users. But I want to take it to the next level. Okay, you use Steem, you bootstrapped, you got a lot of people, you got funding thanks to delegation, or whatever it is. But now I want to see a lot of these apps say, okay, how do we go out and get everybody else in the world who is not in this room or on Steem into Steem and into using our apps.
So have you ever had any experience like pitching to investors or VCs, or and is there anything you've learned from that experience that can give people insight as to what they need to do next if they manage to build this successful, cool app on Steem, but they're trying to figure out where to go from there? Yeah,
that's a really good point. I think it would be an eye-opening experience for a lot of blockchain apps to pitch to venture capital investors. And like I said, in the past, it's been they don't need to do anything except say blockchain. Oh wait, here's all the money that you need. But we're getting past that stage, and so now they're going to have to pitch to investors that aren't just throwing their money at any blockchain project, but they want to see real business plans, right? They don't want to see, oh, I have a community of a few thousand, active people on Steem. They want to see how can we grow to hundreds of thousands of active users, right? They don't want to say, oh, we're giving our product away for free because it's a great,
and you should love it because it's cool, isn't
right?
it?
Yeah.
Like, well, we don't have to fund it.
there, like traditional venture capital that's not in a craze is not going to go for any of that. And a lot of them, it's great that you guys delegate to help a lot of the projects, with their initial funding. But I would really like to see projects on Steem go out and get external funding.
SteemMonsters didn't get a delegation.
We have not gotten a delegation. That's why.
You're successful. Victim of your own success. But it also proves that you don't need to.
Right, and we aren't asking for one either, because there are other ways to be successful and to get money. So I'd love to see some apps really have a business plan that shows how they can grow to be hundreds of thousands, millions of users, how they can make revenue and still be able to distribute the profits out to their users, to the people who bring value, and then go out and use that and bring in investment.
I think that's a critical insight, because if you're developing an app and you're planning on launching an SMT, your users, certainly your power users, you're basically going to be pitching to them as if they are a VC, where you're going to be saying, come in here because you're going to be earning these tokens, and these tokens are going to become incredibly valuable because we're building something incredibly great. You're going to have to pitch that to them, and they're not going to take like, oh, it's just going to be great because it's free and we have no revenue and so where do they go from there? So what is an investor looking for? What do they want to hear from an app developer other than it's so cool and it leverages Steem in a super interesting way, and we've got a lot of users because we've got 10% of the Steem user base?
Right. Yeah, it's very clear, and I think every investor that I've talked to kind of wants to see the same things in a business plan, and they evaluate the same things. And one thing that I think is especially lacking in a lot of blockchain and Steem businesses is the market size, right? So if we went to investors, Agronode and myself, we can show the market size of digital trading card games, right? We can show Hearthstone. We can show Magic the Gathering. We can show billions of dollars. And this is even just a subset of the full gaming industry that we might be able to market to. And we can show there is billions of dollars being spent on this type of product right now. So that's the first thing investors look at that should be in a pitch deck, is like, this is the market I'm going after. So then after that, they want to see how you're going to capture that market, right? I think that we have a pretty good, way to show that. I mean, we've had a little success so far. That is always helpful. But you want to show why your product is better than the others, and why people who are spending billions of dollars on these other products are going to come now and spend it on your product instead. So the reason that ours is because, and this is a big reason why I wanted to create SteemMonsters in the first place, is I played Hearthstone, I played Clash Royale, I played all these games. All the money I spent is spent and gone, and all the things I've gotten are stuck in my account in those games. I gave the money to the company, I played the game. I have no way to get anything back from that. What's the difference now with digital assets and true digital ownership that we can provide by doing this on the blockchain is that if you come and you buy SteemMonsters cards, those are your cards, right? We literally cannot say that you cannot transfer them or that you cannot sell them or anything like that. So they are, everyone can. If I have a Hearthstone card, I have no idea how many there are, right? Hearthstone could just go and make 20 million of them if they want, and we have no idea. So on the blockchain, there's true digital scarcity. Everyone can verify how many of those cards exist, which, leads to their market price, right? And then everyone's free to sell and trade them. So that's what we're going after. I think that's a powerful message if we go to people who play traditional digital games, and we're able to get this message across to them where they're not really spending money in our game. It's an investment. It's sort of like buying Steem or buying Bitcoin. And on top of that investment, they can also use it to play the game. And if they spend a lot of time playing the game and they're good at it, they can earn more, of those cards that potentially have value or potentially higher value in the future. So that's sort of our pitch that I would make to venture capitalists if and when we were to go try to get them. Here's the market size, and here's how we can go get that market.
Yeah, I think the key takeaway from that, for me, is understanding that a good technology gives you some slight edge over your competitors. It's going to be more difficult to scale because it's new, but it gives you some kind of edge, and understanding on a very deep level what that edge is and how you can exploit it to create a superior business model usually for a niche, usually for some small niche that can grow because that addresses the scaling issues. That's a key insight. I think so. You've got you've got a value prop. Oh, I think another thing that you guys did that was brilliant was you built in a mechanism, whether intentionally or not. I see too many entrepreneurs in the space thinking that the way to get an investor is to explain to them how it's going to work and why it's going to work. But what you guys did is you sold starter packs, and then you created booster packs. And what you have with booster packs is a very objective metric for how engaging the game is. Because you can see how many people start, how many people come in, presumably the people who get the starter packs, and then you can see exactly how excited they are about playing the game, how sticky the game is, because the average user acquires 10 booster packs, and that's something you can actually, I think a VC would be much happier to hear you say, for every user we onboard, they purchase 10 booster packs, as opposed to, this game is so sticky that people are going to love playing it all the time. And even a metric like number of games played, to me, isn't as robust as this is how many booster packs they buy. Was that intentional? Was it a fortunate accident?
No, that's just part of selling a product, right? So yeah, if you're going to have a much easier time raising capital and building your business, if you have success to show, like monetary success, like people are actually putting money where their mouth is to use your product. And again, as part of the whole like pitch deck to venture capitalists, what they also want to see is how much it costs you to bring in each new player and what the lifetime value of each player is, because that's what makes a business successful or not. It's that simple calculation. If it costs you less to bring in a customer than the average customer spends, you will have a profitable growing business, and if not, you will fail. So that's, and if you can go and tell a venture capitalist that you think this is how it will work. But if you've actually done it a little bit already and you can see it, so it's worked so far in this little bit, that makes all the difference. Sometimes you can actually prove to them that the numbers you're showing are not made up, or they're achievable. And that also just gets into another thing, is marketing. I mentioned how much it costs to bring in new people. So Steem, as I mentioned, is awesome because you can go out and build something and get 1,000, 2,000, even more people using it for free. There's no blockchains, at least that I know of, that do that. There's probably no other platforms I know of that do that. So use that, get your start, and then you got to say, okay, now what's my marketing plan? And you're going to have to spend money. So that's where either the venture capital money that you bring in helps, or the product that you're selling helps. You spend the money, you bring in the customers, and you earn more. You may give a lot of that money back to your customers, which is great. But to have a sustainable business, you need to earn more on average per customer than it costs to acquire them.
Yeah, so it's fairly normal to reinvest a lot of the early money that you get into like customer acquisition and building the experience. How long, what time horizon do you think people should establish for themselves as far as generating kind of surplus revenue that isn't just being pumped? Because that's another problem I see, is that people go, so they get to the next step of the business plan where they're actually generating revenue, and then they go, and all of it will go back into the business forever. And I'm just like, yeah, but a year from now you're going to get tired of this, and then 2 questions or 2 minutes? 2 minutes. You're going to get tired of this, and you're going to drop this because it can't fund your lifestyle, and that's really important. So what kind of time horizon should people look at, maybe?
Yeah, the time horizon is different for every business, and it's kind of how quickly you want to grow and how quickly you want to do things. So there's definitely a bootstrapping phase where you don't like take huge salaries, right? You kind of pump everything back into the business to try to grow it, and that's kind of the tipping point where you either make it or break it. So it's unique for each business, but certainly after that initial bootstrapping phase, if you have a successful product, you have customer acquisition channels, you're making more than you're spending in marketing. Yeah, then it's important that your employees have salaries and that they're not just bootstrapping forever and ever and ever, because that just creates a problem where people just say, well, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. And if your key people can't support their lives and they leave, then you're going to be done too.
They're going to work somewhere else and there's going to be a conflict somewhere. Yeah. So is there any last minute thing, like any last minute message you want to get out to anyone watching or listening about what they need to know to build a successful business on blockchain?
I will say it's to summarize what I've said here. Look at it as if you need to pitch this business to traditional venture capitalists who are not just throwing their money at blockchain companies.
I think that's good. Yeah, even if you're not planning to talk to VCs, I still think it's a really helpful exercise.
Yeah, I mean, because VCs look at that just because that's what makes a successful business, right? Yeah. So whether or not you're pitching to VCs, you want to do the things that will make your business successful.
They're not stupid.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you very much.